Yes, yes, yes. It is the Cast Worthy Podcast, and we are back. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the Twitter machine, joined today by EJ the Savage and the VP. It is, I don't know what today's date is, April 10th,
April 10th.
the week before he is risen, Easter. And we're here, man. What's up?
Yo, what's happening? Got a new Supreme Court justice
It's,
What's
rather.
going on?
it's a new law dog in town.
Yeah, from Miami
Nice.
to the Supreme Court. Let's talk
Nice
about it.
symbolic move for black folks.
Yeah,
Let's talk about it.
for the first
Miami,
time
stand
in.
up.
All right, enough of
Miami,
Miami.
sit down.
Right, please, y'all go ahead and y'all be okay.
305.
So the first time in 232 years, the Supreme Court is not predominantly white male.
Yeah.
There's only four of them.
Is that basically the is that basically just the first time ever? Because when we
Yeah.
coin it like that, it's like, 232 years ago, it wasn't that way. Nah, basically just for
No.
the first time in its entirety, in its entire existence, this is the
And
way
that-
it is.
Now,
Right.
finally, it's not predominantly white male, and they want to get rid of genders. Look at that.
Oh,
Too
God.
soon. Too
But,
soon. All right.
Yeah, man. It
I
was
guess you guys don't like to be toxic. It's at the
it
beginning.
was a
of the
good
show.
day, man. It
You
was a
lost
good
me
day.
for a second. I didn't know what was going on, but then I had to
I knew
think
where it
about
was
it.
going. I
Yeah.
was following. Yeah, it was a good day, man. It was like thinking about what she said in her speech. She delivered a line. She delivered two lines that kind of was really touching, where she said, "I'm the dream of the slave," and I'm like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, how people say stuff like we are our ancestors' wildest dreams kind of thing, you know what I mean? And then she also mentions how in her family they went, in one generation from Jim Crow to the Supreme Court, you know what I mean? So I was like, that's really impactful, man.
Man, did you cry?
No.
I didn't see it. But I have to assume that, for the elders, right? There's impact to us, right? We're black people, but we're living in a world where, even though we know it's still relevant and active, racism that is, it's not, it's not everywhere you go, like,
Yeah.
like our elders, um so for them who actually sat through and saw, or heard direct stories of the beatings and, the mistreatment, yeah, we've heard the stories, but they might have lived through some of it. So this has got to be very monumental to them. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
shout out
No,
to
that's a good
Ketanji
point,
Brown.
Steve. That's a good point, man. EJ probably can
Been
speak
on
to it
one.
better than I can, but
I've been potting the last 2 weeks, man. I'm on it.
but when you talk about like the elders, you know what I mean? Like, black women were heavy in the civil rights movement, you know what I mean? And not to say that black men weren't, you know what I mean, but like they did a lot of heavy lifting during that time. And when you think about in the judiciary, right? I mean, you got black people or black women who are, legislatures. We still haven't had a black woman governor at this point, but they've been senators, congress people, mayors, et cetera, right? But when it came to the judiciary, black women are heavily underrepresented. There have only been 70 black judges in total in the judiciary. When Biden took office, there were only 4 black women on the circuit court, and the circuit court is the level below the Supreme Court. And since Biden has took office, he's nominated a bunch of black women to the circuit court, and that way you can have a potential pipeline of new judges that could be either considered or potentially nominated should there be a vacancy in the future. So that was definitely a huge moment, not just for black people in general, but black women specifically.
Very symbolic win. Because, the way that it goes, she's in there and, she's going to be fair and to the letter. And, It's not that she can do a lot of advancement for the people per se, but very symbolic in knowing that we're represented to some degree, and that our people can see this representation. So it's definitely necessary, and we as a people, we can't stop there. Hopefully, we can start to mobilize and do some other things, but definitely a great win. I don't know that they're gonna let us get any more though, because the shit she had to go through to get there.
Yeah.
Um,
Dude,
it's just
yo, that shit
blatant.
was crazy.
It's just blatant at this point, though, which is a thing for me that just frustrates me as a people. You know, we see what happens in our faces. Those representatives that made it hard, that did what they did. The black folks that live in those areas. Somebody's got to be mobilizing to say, look, yo, this is what they think of us at the highest level for the Supreme Court. What do you think they're doing when they're voting for your future?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we're not there. We're fickle people. We'll do it when the movement is right and the mood is right, but we really haven't, as a people, created any political traction or power in this nation, and it's largely because we aren't monolithic. So there are so many different movements, and unfortunately, we are a people that we can't really see past our own self-interest, even still to this day. Like in the civil rights time, you had a lot of women, you had a lot of men, you had a lot of, like I always talk about Bayard Rustin and how he was one of the openly gay black civil rights leaders that predates Martin Luther King and anyone else but 20 years, right? But because he was gay, the black community never embraced him. Yet he was Martin's advisor. He'd been doing it long before this dude was even old enough to, and they never got behind him, because at that time being gay was so frowned upon. Now, fast forward, the gay community has so much more traction. That's mostly what they're focusing on, and we're not focusing on the issues our major cities are having and the violence and everything. So it's just like, in short, we really don't have one thing to get behind because we are so diverse as a people, but it also hurts our political agenda, if you ask me. But hopefully we get there. Hopefully we keep getting these symbols of inspiration and hope to do something great for everyone.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And on like the thing that I thought about this week with Ketanji Brown Jackson getting ready to go to the Supreme Court is, like me and you have had this conversation. And I know, like, I think we pretty much are in agreement on this topic. We just maybe, around the edges have some difference. You know what I mean? But when we talk about like the power or the purpose of voting, you know what I mean? And people have to understand like how these things work. So we put Obama in office in '08, and Obama nominates Ketanji Brown Jackson to become a judge, and then she serves as a judge for about 8-9 years. Biden, who was Obama's VP, chooses a black woman to be the first black vice president in the country's history, and then Biden nominates Ketanji Brown Jackson, who then gets confirmed to the Supreme Court. You know what I mean? So had we not put Obama in there, there is no Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. You know what I mean? And then there is no Supreme Court designee Ketanji Brown Jackson. You know what I mean? And so, you know, while when we vote for a person, we don't get everything that we want. Sometimes we don't get all of what was promised. Maybe only 60, 70, 80%. You know, I know Steve's waiting for it, so I'll hear it in a second. But
Whatever
but
do you mean?
that's kind of the power of the vote. You know what I mean? It is. I told a good friend of the podcast this week. I was like, sometimes progress takes time, and she said, yeah, a long time though. And I was like, Martin Luther King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And so,
Hmm.
sometimes it takes a couple more steps to get there, but eventually, we can get there if we keep the faith and keep pushing.
Well, I never disputed the power of the vote. It's just it's the thing that comes along with it, right? Think about it. It's been over nearly 50, maybe I'm not doing the math, but since Martin Luther King did what he needed to do and others did what they needed to do to help us to get the equal footing to vote, um, it's been so much time since then where we could have maybe progressed more as a people. And I think we continue to get complacent over time. And even when you look at just what happened with Obama in '08 and the movement behind him and all of the celebrities that got involved and just the unity that we displayed from a grassroots standpoint, if we had kept that same energy, you got to think 2008 is, nearly 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Had we kept that same momentum and traction just to continue to forward our agenda as a people, where would we really be?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to the fickle nature that you always talk about, EJ. We always talk about it in general, right? We're just a fickle people. Listen, by the end of April, you won't see no more posts about Ketanji Brown Jackson. It's unfortunate, but it's true. You know what I mean? And you might see it from the people that you don't want to see it, right? You'll still see the post because we always talk about how consistent they are. We're still going to see the posts of the videos of them saying, "Oh, look at Ted Cruz owned her." Ted Cruz
Mhm.
showed her this book and she supported this and she couldn't tell us what a woman is. How can she say she's a woman? Like, we're going to still see that, but we're not going to see the supportive posts, the ones that we expect to see or we want to see. And yeah, so that speaks directly to your point, EJ. Um, and the fact that they try to distract us. They get a strong black woman as a Supreme Court justice, and they get a bald black woman to try and get her husband to distract us from all the great that's going on by running up on stage and smacking Chris Rock. And of course, we as a people on Facebook, in Instagram, and Twitter, that's what we gravitate to. We gravitate to the ignorance. Um, yeah, man. So Will Smith got banned from the Oscars for 10 years, and I don't know if that's punishment or he might be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, the Oscars has been controversial for the last few years before what took place this year. Just in the nature that they really never really accepted us, and their way of acceptance was, let's go ahead and get three black women hosts, and all black
Two, two.
two and an all black production crew, and this is gonna make it all right. You know what I mean? Um, and it's a step in the right direction. I get what they were trying to do, but sometimes it's just overdone. It's overdone. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about Will Smith's ban?
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. The Oscars they gotta do something. It's their event. You know what I mean? And you can't have people doing violence at the show that you're running. Because I know we're gonna talk about what Chris Rock said in a second. But I'm pretty sure whatever action that is taken isn't gonna stop at Will Smith. You know, and so they gotta do something. Was it excessive 10 years? Probably. You know, but at the same time, like the Oscars sucks. You know what I mean? So I'm like you said earlier, I'm not sure if that's really a punishment. People like I don't want to go to that shit anyway. But I mean, then again, it could be. If you like, I'm pretty sure if I went to a engineering award show, I would find it extremely boring. But for engineers, they might be like, man, that shit was awesome. You know what I mean? So maybe the Academy Awards is the same way for actors. But even though I'm not a musician, I find the Grammys entertaining. So you know, I guess there's something to be said there as well. But I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, it may have been excessive, but they had to do something.
Like Michael Rappaport said, he ain't worried about this shit no way.
Yeah, I think Will's body of work is respected, and it has to be respected, has to continue to be respected, whether it's the past or the future. You still got to give. I still shout out Will Packer because he had a he put on a great show for the Oscars. You know, he produced a great show aside from all of that. And then even after that, there was still some good pieces besides, you know, the love and light speech that came after you physically attack someone on stage. But everything past it, I thought was pretty good too. So you got to shout out to Will Packer. He did a good job um on it. I don't know, like you said, I don't think he's phased in any way as far as that goes.
But
There was
yeah, I mean, but he deserved to. Right, and that's the other thing. Are they going to block the nominations? But at this point in time, right, he's in a position as an actor. Like Jim Carrey came out and kind of said, you know, and we love Well, some people hate Jim Carrey. I don't know why, but
I
Jim
love Jim
Carrey
Carrey.
basically came out and said, you know, I don't need to do anything more as an actor. I don't have this greed where I need to continue to succeed with accolades. I don't need money. Will Smith is completely in a position where he doesn't have to do anything else in any way. So it's hard for me or any of us to kind of look at this and feel any kind of way about it. Now, they've held off movies. You know, are we ever going to be able to look at his material the same? That might be something that might eat at him more than anything else, because now everything that we see, are people going to feel some kind of way about it despite being, you know, as good as it can be. But overall, I mean, this is an unfortunate thing for him that he created, and it just looks bad all the way around. And it in time it may pass, it may die down, it may go away, but you know, the Academy Awards had to do something, and this is probably the best that they could do, other than
Yeah.
maybe not having him being nominated for anything. But yeah,
Right. And to your point, EJ, I mean, it's a reason why that whole thing, don't meet your heroes is a saying, you know, because you know we see the public version of these people, you know what I mean, and then when you meet, like, it's almost like I guess the perfect example of this is the remember the Chappelle Wayne Brady sketch.
yep,
You know what I mean? That's kind of the perfect example where you see Wayne Brady on TV. He's this nice, like, gentlemanly guy, and then you Chappelle hang out with him. He's out there like running tricks and shooting people and shit. You know what I mean? And so I think that it can have a lasting effect because, you know, when people see you and you're presenting yourself as like a certain way, they think like, I don't know if he's really like that. Like, is he being genuine or is he putting on the front for me because we're in public, you know? And so that's always going to be there. Does it hurt him in the long run? I don't know, but I think it does have a lasting effect. Some though.
I agree. I totally agree. I know I
there
won't be able to look at his stuff the same.
Nah, I mean, and that's where I was trying to get back to the question that was asked in the chat that we talked about. Um is Will Smith going to get the Mel Gibson treatment moving forward? And I know my question or my answer to it was I don't think he should, right? And I don't think, you know, I don't think he will. I think he will right now because it's still new and it's still fresh, but I don't think he should. Like, we have to let him back in, you know. What he did was not warranted, right? The punishment didn't fit the crime in a sense. If you feel that Chris Rock did commit some type of crime by making that joke, um, but we can't allow for this man's legacy to be tarnished and completely thrown out the window for everything he's done and can potentially do in the future based on one mistake that he's made, because that's what they want from us for him, you know. So we have to, at some point, we have to give him a route back into our hearts and our, you know, our minds, and our greats, you know, our lists of greats, because he belongs there. You know, regardless of what he did, he belongs on that list. Everything he's done before and everything he'll do after, I suspect, will be just as good. And he belongs to be, you know, revered in the black neighborhood and black
Community.
community.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Because Mel Gibson, guys like Mel Gibson, Liam Neeson, they've been forgiven. You know, people forget this dude Liam Neeson comes out with a Taken type. film every year. They just switch up the plot, they switch up the
This
narrative.
time it's on an airplane.
Yeah,
This time
basically.
he's running around doing this, lost his memory. I mean, the same thing every time, and people forget that we're promoting. Well, not we're, but the Hollywood community is allowing this dude to make another film about being this vigilante secret agent type person, and it's the same dude that said he used to walk around looking to fight black people.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be able to make another film at all in
Yeah.
Hollywood.
And Mel Gibson gets out there, and he deserves it. The truth. Mel Gibson gets out there on the phone with his ex-wife, I suspect she is now, saying, I'm gonna have a group of niggers, come after you. They're gonna get you. Like, come on, Mel. You gotta do better than that, right?
Yeah.
That's far worse than Will Smith going up on stage and assaulting Chris Rock. We don't condone violence, of course, unless you have to. But um, Chris Rock
But
came out this week.
but
Go
the
ahead.
issue, Steve, real quick before you move on though, part of the issue is both of you guys are right. The issue though is that
Say that
there's
again
only one Tyler
on the
Perry.
recorded line.
Huh?
Both you guys are what?
What?
We're both what?
Oh. Yeah, so
It's just so
you know,
rare, It's an anomaly. I thought if I could get it twice
so
on the same recording.
but but there's only one Tyler Perry, right? And so most of the gatekeepers are white people, right? And you hear people say, like when you think about like Ketanji Brown Jackson, we were just talking about black people got to work twice as hard to go half as far, you know, and so those gatekeepers might say, well, I don't want this guy in my next project, or connected to my company, et cetera, right? Whereas those same gatekeepers, a lot of them who are older white people probably have some feelings like a Liam Neeson or a Mel Gibson, etc. And so they can see it. They can empathize with those people. They can put themselves in those people's shoes. You know, but it's like Will Smith. You probably got this preconceived notion of black people are angry and we're violent and stuff. And it's like, oh, there it is. It's like,
Yeah.
you know.
But
Chris Rock.
that's
It's funny. It's funny that Chris Rock said this, but I remember he
yeah.
was on David Letterman one time, and he was talking about racism, and he was like, "What's helped him through life is that he just assumes all white people are racist," and he was like, "So that way, he was like, if he's ever on Regis Philbin's show, and Regis Philbin is like one of the nicest people he's ever met." And he was like, he just picks up a pencil and stabs him in the neck, and he's like, "Die, you fucking nigger!" He was like, I'd be like, it's kind of my fault. I left my neck out there. I should have known it. He was like, because he's always just thinks white people are racist.
Oh my
And
god.
and so you may have those gatekeepers who feel that kind of way about black people. We're angry, we're violent, we're prone to violence and that kind of thing like that. And it's like when it happened, it's like, I fucking knew it. So
But that's what makes Steve's point so much more salient, that we as a people, as that cookout, that community, that proverbial community we always talk about, it is our job to really get back behind them, because we know that the black dollar, the black influence, it can be so key, and while those gatekeepers exist, you do have the Tyler Perrys, you do have this even the small company. Shit, Will has enough reach to produce his own stuff if he wanted to, but he really will need our support, in unison. So we as a people got to forgive him first, to Steve's point.
Tell me, you know, anytime there's a mass shooting or, some type of other violence, people talk about mental health, right? We've seen Will Smith struggle these last few years due to the things that have taken place in his household, whether it be, his daughter, his son kind of doing what they do, or his wife doing lots of what she does. Um, but yet, I haven't really heard anybody mention the mental health aspect to it at the right levels. Like you'll hear it our podcast. You'll hear it on the local podcasts and local stuff like that. But at that level, nobody's willing to shoot him any type of bail. Um, why do you think that is?
I've heard it once, but and it was more. It wasn't even necessarily from the mental health aspect for Will Smith. It was more focused on Jada, saying like, you know, she probably gets like people come at her on social media because she has the red table joint, and people probably come at him, like come at her through his social media because he has his whole, you know, social media brand and things like that with his YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. And maybe in public and that kind of thing. And then it was kind of like the Chris Rock thing was like the straw that broke the camel's back. You know what I mean? But again, they talked about it from like, you know, Jada's perspective versus like Will's, you know. Um, but part of why I think that is, you know, EJ talks about it a lot. It's just that, you know, a lot of black men are just kind of, you know, like second thought. You know what I mean? And so, you know, people are like, you know, that we got to center Jada on this. Like, what did Will do that made her want to go be with another dude? You know what I mean? Or, you know, what is Will doing that made, you know, people think that it's okay to come for her at the Oscars? You know what I mean? And a lot of it is focused on like him kind of being the bad guy, you know, instead of being, you know, like, why the fuck is she messing around with their kid's friend on him? You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it, man.
No, that's precisely it. And I always say it, you know, black men are the last to be thought about and to be cared about because in like you said, VP, in all of this stuff, she becomes the main focus, and then they go back to the red table talk. And when you hear so many people talk about the narrative in that, oh well, they have an open relationship. Oh well, Will was cheating. Oh well, he wasn't hurt by that. He said he wasn't crying. It was just late at night. And like what? Like how do you normalize the trauma that he's experienced to the world? How do you normalize that? This is a dude that over 30 years hadn't even cursed on wax not once, but in 5 minutes dropped two F-bombs back to back. He was clearly emotionally unhinged. He's clearly been going through a year of nonsense. Even in the beginning of that show, when you had Regina Hall make the joke about him being in an open relationship and how she could have had him, he looked uncomfortable even though he was laughing. Jada thought it was hilarious, but who knows how that even made him feel. But
Yeah.
all in that essence, we's just supposed to let it go by the wayside because
To
he's a
the
guy.
table. She's going to
And
be at the
it
red
happens
table.
that way. It literally
Would
happens
you
that way.
say she has been instrumental?
So this video surfaced this week, and I think
I
you can
saw it.
kind of see
It's nasty.
the hurt in his face, right? And just like we saw on the red table. So check it
Is
out.
coming to the table. She's going to be at the red table. Would you say she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?
I would say don't just start filming me without asking
Oh
me
my goodness.
if you could film me.
Astaire, come help us again, please. I'm still dealing with foolishness.
Because she don't just.
Would you say that she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?
My social media presence is my bread and butter, okay? So you can't just use me for social media and not, don't just start roll. I'm standing in my house. Don't just start rolling.
Please watch Astaire at the red table because she's helped us a lot. Can't you tell?
It's nasty, man. That's
She's got
nasty
no
work.
compassion for that man. Like
Nasty work.
there's no compassion there. Like you can tell he's fighting. He was fighting one not to blow up, right? And he didn't even answer the question.
That was
He
a
didn't
what the
answer the
fuck. That
question.
was a what the fuck are you doing moment.
Yeah,
Literally, you looking at her like, what the fuck are you doing?
yeah.
And, and,
She
and
was
someone
OP.
could look at that and be like, oh, he's being a drama queen, he's being dramatic. But think about what we're talking about. We always talk about the responsibility of celebrities and social media and access and all this stuff, and it's not about us seeking the mental health because who knows what he is doing on his own. It's about the social support of his mental health. He's clearly unraveling, he's unhinged. And instead of being supported to where people can empathize and see this guy instead of just being a 6'2", 200-pound person. They can't empathize to say that could be my uncle, that could be my father, that could be my brother. You know what I mean? And you two that have sons, that VP, you see it more now in how just around your child as a teenager, whether it's him or his friends, the importance of mental health. And but when they look at, your son from the outside, oh, he's a big healthy kid, it's whatever, none of this stuff affects him. This is how we have those broken men later. Not saying your son, but this is how we have those broken men later, because we don't support them now. We talk about as a society how important mental health is, but when it comes to us, oh, black men don't seek mental health. It ain't about us seeking it. Is it that the world around us supporting that for us? Black boys don't cry, dust your shoulders off. This, that, and
I
the third.
think, yeah, I think the fight is so difficult for us as it is that we go out of our way to not show it also, right? We try not to show the depression. We try not to show the anger. We try not to show the frustration because number one, it's stereotypical, right? It's a stereotype of us that we're angry and, unhinged. And number two, in our community, you're weak if you show that. You're weak. Think about little boys when they fall down, right? And people are like, don't cry, don't get up, you better not cry, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. You know what I'm saying? That happens in our community. You don't really see that. And I don't know, I don't spend a lot of time in you know the land of Caucasus, but I have to assume that it's not like that there, right? And so you're groomed this way from the time that you're a child, and that's where we need to change, just as a people, I think.
It's precisely what it is when you look at it from our physical demeanor and stature off top. Even when you just look at the responses that people are giving Will Smith, then we're not even talking about the traumatic impact that it has on Chris Rock, the first show he has after being slapped. I don't know if this guy's gonna come on stage and kill me. We're talking about wanting, like the fact that the first thing that we hear when we talk about black men and mental health, y'all don't seek it, you have to want to. Yeah, that might have been true for many black men 30 to 20 years ago. We're talking about us, and I always talk about this. We're dealing with the sins of our fathers to where we can't even be looked at as a new age generation that says, hey, we do want to seek mental health. When is the rest of society going to realize that we seek it and it's also important? Doesn't matter how much mental health you get if the society around you doesn't respect it. Jada's sitting here on camera. You could clearly see your husband is in distress, and yet you're going to chastise him and say, oh, I'm still dealing with this foolishness. So clearly in that moment, you don't respect anything, and we're speculating because we don't know the facts, but from what we can see, what I'm feeling from what I'm getting, you're not respecting his current status and how he feels right now. And that's how society looks at us. That's just what it is. Black men historically have had the highest suicide rate and most successful suicide rate. That should tell you something.
Yeah.
That should tell you something.
So you talked about, or we talked about the Chris Rock debacle, and there was something that came out, I want to say today, where Chris Rock had another show, and he said, I have a whole, show about what took place, but I'm not doing it until I get paid. Right? That's one. And then he went on to follow it by saying, I finally got my hearing back in my ear, you know. Um, and I think what we talked about in pre-production, VP, is the lawyer. Someone got in his ear, and I think we said that last week too. Someone finally got in his ear and was like, listen, it's okay to take the high road. It's okay to not spotlight it and stuff like that. But, to your point, EJ, you were impacted. You were affected. Like if your first words out of your mouth from seeing a heckler being on stage after 20, 30 plus years in the business is this guy going to kill me? You were impacted. You're mentally scarred. And I don't want to make it sound like this guy can't go on living. You know what I mean? Because
But see,
it's not to
that's
that
that
level.
point, that caveat right there is the exact point. Why should you even have to, you know what I mean, give that disclaimer? It is what it is. Stick to it. He's scarred. What else? Because if this was
No, but
anyone else, we wouldn't even have to have that disclaimer.
I mean, EJ is 100% right, because, like, just speaking as somebody who, served in the military, like, this is how PTSD works. You know what I mean? You have some kind of event that traumatized you, and then there are sometimes where you're in situations where, though, your surroundings kind of trigger that feeling of what happened to you in that original trauma. You know what I mean? And so that, to EJ's point, when he's at the show and the heckler stands up and he's like, yo, is this guy gonna kill, you know what I mean? Like, that's real. You know what I mean? And it won't just be on stage. Maybe he's at a restaurant and somebody's coming to his table and he thinks, is this person coming for me, or are they just going to their seat? Like, are they looking, is it a fan who wants a picture? If it's somebody who's going to be aggressive, you know what I mean? And then next thing you know, a year has passed and you've gone from being like this person who's out and about doing your thing to kind of saying, I'm just going to stay at home because when I see people approaching me, I get like fucked up. You know what I'm saying? And so while right now he may seem okay, for the most part, there could be something that's going on in his head.
Yeah. I hope, whatever action is taken, which I suspect they're gonna take some action, him and his lawyer team of lawyers. I hope he maintains that same energy of keeping it behind closed doors. I don't want him to not talk about it. I don't want him to not, discuss, the mental health aspect and the impact and stuff like that, because that's important. But I think, keeping it behind closed doors, um, it does help not prevent, or it helps prevent that, what we talked about, that treatment of Will Smith just kind of being thrown in the dirt and in the mud, right? And I also respect Will Smith. While, you know a lot of us are thinking, hey, this is a mental health issue and he's being done dirty in his own home, he's not leaning on it. That's an easy cop out for him. He could have easily come out and been like, man, I was off the hinges, I blame this on Jada. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't. So it's gonna be an interesting thing to watch. And I don't think, I know it's getting tired hearing people talk about it, but it's impactful, and it's a big thing.
I kind of disagree a little bit with keeping whatever happens like under wraps, and I disagree with it only from the standpoint of, um I feel like justice needs to be public. You know what I mean? Because it serves as a deterrence for somebody doing shit like this in the future. And so if we, and I'm using we like in a really loose term, but like if Chris Rock has just kind of paid off and then disappeared, and then all the details are scurried away into an NDA, and nobody ever finds out anything. It's like, was just, yeah, Chris Rock maybe somewhat made whole, except for, trauma, as we discussed a moment ago, but people don't get to see that this shit is not acceptable. You can't just go around like slapping the shit out of people, and while we know that already, but people need to have that kind of, that that the visual to show like the shit is not okay, you know and so that's why I kind of would prefer something public to happen, because we see the same kind of thing that happens with like companies, for example, right? You'll hear a company did some foul shit, took advantage of customers, stole from people, et cetera, and then the Justice Department makes them sign some kind of thing where they pay a fine but don't admit any guilt, and then they're just right back to business as usual, like, not, you know what I mean? And so where's the deterrence to say you did this thing and you're being punished for it, and everybody knows you're being punished for doing this thing?
I think like I said, I think it would be okay for Chris Rock to, put it into his shows and stuff like that. But I don't think it's necessary, because by the time we see this happen, we're talking about potentially who knows how long it's going to be dragged out, unless it's like some type of settlement, which ideally that's what you would hope happens, right? Me personally. Um, because let's say it draws out for 2 years or 3 years, right? And people have kind of started to forget about it and whatever. Now you're going to take Will Smith and throw him back in the dirt and say, hey,
No, I don't mean it that way, Steve. I'm not saying I want some kind of like elongated process or whatever. What I'm saying is that whatever the outcome, we all think Chris Rock is going to sue Will Smith, right? I'm saying I hope that it's not like settled and then there's some kind of NDA to disappear whatever happened. And then that way, this issue with Will Smith can be used as a cautionary tale. Like, hey, sometimes you're a public figure, you're gonna be out in public, somebody's gonna say some shit to you, and you need to chill the fuck out because you too could lose $100 million. You know what I mean? Or whatever the number ends up being is what I'm saying.
I just don't want Will Smith to be the poster boy for that. Like if when it comes time to make an example of someone or show there's consequences to your actions, I'd like to see that. I would just not like to see it Will Smith. I would have liked to see that with Tom Cruise jumping up and down on fucking Ellen's couch, or Oprah's couch, whoever that was, having his outburst. I'd like to have seen that with Mel Gibson. I would have liked to have seen that with Liam Neeson, like to EJ's point. I would like to see that with the next person. But again, this just goes back to the earlier point that I made. Will Smith belongs in our hearts, and his legacy deserves to live on. He made a mistake, and even more so if it's determined that there was that he was dealing with some type of mental anguish at the time. Because at the same time we're saying, oh, Chris Rock is impacted, which I agree. Will Smith is being impacted, and there's just no talk of it. And then once we come out and say, yeah, Will Smith lost $150 million, nobody's going to attach the fact that, yeah, he lost $150 million. Great. Thank goodness he got help. Like, that's not how they're going to paint it. So I just don't want it to be Will Smith. But I agree with you. I'm on point with people, with punishments and consequences being publicized. I think maybe in this one I'm just partial to Will.
I got
you. So moving on, there was a video that came out. I don't know if if you saw it this morning. Cristiano Ronaldo, highest paid athlete of all time, soccer player for Portugal. He was playing poorly in a game yesterday, and as he was leaving, he was frustrated. There was some fans heckling, and one of the fans, 14-year-old boy, puts his hand out, and Cristiano smacks the shit out of it. And and we've talked about it previously. The
14-year-old autistic boy, EJ.
I was gonna get there. 14-year-old boy. We talked about, fans getting too close to players and stuff like that. His mom comes out and she posts the video, really big black and blue on his hand, saying that was the result of the smack. And then, makes it a point to say, to mention, that he's autistic. I want you guys to react to that.
I mean,
soccer. First of all, we're talking about the soccer world. The soccer world is different than any other sport in the world. Ronaldo is loved worldwide. He's a humanitarian. He had an unhinged moment and he lost it. He's gonna pay that bread, and we're not gonna hear nothing about it later. He'll be all right. I don't feel no kind of way for Ronaldo. I don't feel sorry for him. He's gonna pay that money, and it's gonna go away. Because this guy is the king of the soccer world. He can do no wrong. So, yeah.
I think EJ is exactly right, but this also kind of highlights the point that me and Steve have been making for I don't know how long now about these athletes needing to chill the fuck out when it comes to the fans, and so here you're frustrated because you're playing bad, and then you're being heckled by fans. I don't know if you're even being heckled. I don't even know if he was being heckled by the boy that he hit.
Right.
And now smack the shit out of this kid, a 14-year-old autistic kid, and now you're gonna have to, for him, he's the highest paid athlete in the history of the world. So whatever check he ends up having to write is not, it's going to be a drop in the bucket for him, and this will be life changing for that family. But to the point, this is something that didn't need to even be done or whatever. And I also think that an example should be made. Will it happen because of everything EJ said about Ronaldo and his impact and influence in soccer globally? Probably not, but it should. Like, you can't go around hitting fans because you're having a bad day. Like that shit. Like these leagues have to show players that this shit is unacceptable.
Right. You don't run the fucking world.
Right. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be like EJ said, where there'll be some kind of strongly worded letter put out, or a tweet or something like that from the soccer people, whoever, like whatever, I don't know what to call their organization, like the
Federation.
NFL version for soccer or whatever.
Federation.
Yeah, so the federation will put out some kind of strongly worded letter, and he might get a game, or, suspended, but other than that, nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, these athletes lose sight of reality when they're in those moments. And there needs to be some type of punishment to get athletes to start to think more clear-minded in those situations. We've seen a basketball player take a fan's phone and throw it. We've seen.
What was the commonality in that though?
What do you mean?
In Ronaldo and that guy that took the phone, both European, like literally European born.
Oh, right.
And
But we've
that
seen.
was my point of starting off as saying it's soccer, and then you also add in that factor that the European culture
It's
is
a
just
little
completely different
It's much
than
different.
American culture. Like Ronaldo, not forgiving it, but they just don't give a shit. They don't
But
have that
smacking.
same microscope that we do.
But
No,
that's why I say they
you're
lose
right,
sight
EJ.
of.
But I think
They
the
lose-
smoke will be a little bit different because we're talking about a child.
And
We're
yeah,
not
right.
talking about a regular fan where
A
some
22, 23-year-old
We'll see.
yeah,
kid
it's
that's
some
trying to
asshole
go
19-year-old
right.
talking shit. Like,
And,
it's a child, and it's a child that is autistic.
right.
We'll
And that's
see.
what I was going to get to. The audio that we hear, we only hear somebody saying "you're shit" to him. Right. That's it. And we don't know. It sounded like it was an older person, so I don't think it was the 14-year-old. And a lot of times these kids are out there, they're trying to get their hand out there for you as the biggest star, a mega star, probably the 100% the highest paid, but probably the most popular star in the world when you think about throughout, forget about little ass United States, but the world. And he just wants to put his hand on, maybe have you smack his hand in a way of saying high five, or something like that, just a touch to turn around. Especially now, you add to the fact that it's an autistic child who potentially is sensory seeking already as it is, right? And maybe being in that crowd already could potentially set him off, and now you smack the shit out of him, right? And you're not talking about just that moment. Now you're talking about what Vari talked about, the lasting impact that this could have to that child. It doesn't have to be just today. It could be next week where his parents say, "Hey, you want to go to the game?" And now he's scared, right? He's scarred. So it's just, I think this one should be magnified, and it's a completely different situation.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I just knowing the nature of that
Europe.
atmosphere, soccer, yep, Europe. Some people are gonna say some things, but in a couple weeks, the family's gonna get paid out. Ronaldo's gonna come on with his charm, little press conference. You got to think. I don't know if this is club play. I'm pretty sure it's club play. I don't know that it was international play, but these clubs don't give a shit. These club owners, they wash so much other filth under the rug. They're not gonna give a shit.
But your difference here is that you might have groups behind this one, right? You're going to have a lot of groups that are super supportive of autism awareness and stuff like that. Those types of groups that are going to be behind this, that are going to spotlight it to where it's not going to be just like a normal kid just getting smacked, right? It's think of it as PETA standing behind something, or Mothers Against Drunk Driving, when somebody gets killed. Like, you're going to have those types of organizations that are going to be sitting behind it or standing behind it. That's going to make it, I think, a
I get it.
bigger issue for him.
I get it. I just think that, again, we looking at it from the American lens, and we looking at it from the lens of when it's the black athlete. I just don't, because some of these guys from the Beckhams, not even Beckhams, but some of these guys on some of these clubs have done some heinous things, and nothing has happened to them, and you won't even hear about it, just because in soccer in Europe is just a different culture. It's just, I mean, I hear you, and I could, I think that would be the right thing to happen, but I just think we're looking at it from an American lens. If this was a guy in the NFL, forget about it. This guy in the NBA, forget about it. He's done. Even the MLB, he's done. Just the American lens on things, it's gotta be done. But in Europe, I just can't. I
I'll
can't
tell
see
you
it.
this. If that was my kid, you're going to have to come up off, because he's not accessible, right? So it can't even get to that. I mean, he could be accessible for the right amount, but he's not accessible. So you're going to have to come up off it. Like, you're
Yeah.
going, that check.
It's gonna be nice. This man, do you know how much this man's legs? I think his legs are insured. Both his legs are like insured for like 200 million a piece, something crazy like that. Like in soccer, these dudes have over the last 10 years insured their legs in case if anything happens, they get paid out.
Be
So this
ashamed.
dude Ronaldo, I don't think people really know how rich this dude is.
Yeah.
Be,
He's
sh-
rich as shit.
be
But
ashamed if a small object went through those legs now, wouldn't it?
you know, I don't know enough about soccer, but I think EJ makes a good point. But that's the reason that I brought up the kid thing, where I keep emphasizing that, because it's kind of like last week we talked a little bit about Dan Snyder, the owner of the Washington Commanders, and Steve and EJ had brought up the point of, like, this guy is like the Teflon Don. Like, look at all this stuff that he's done, with the racism thing and the spying in the cheerleaders locker room, and nothing has happened. And I was like, well, with this issue, he's fucking with the owner's money, and we know that's all they care about. You know what I mean? And so this potentially could be different. You know, we got to wait and see. We just found out about it last week, so we don't know what's going to happen. But I kind of just feel like, coming at the owners for the money, that's a whole nother situation. Now you don't fuck with the church's money. And with this Ronaldo situation, we're talking about, you didn't hit just a fan, you hit a fan who's a child, a special needs child. And I feel like that shit is going to have a different impact. Will it be swept under the rug, like EJ is saying? A payout happens and then we never hear about it again? It's very possibly, but I feel like it can be a different level of smoke, because we're talking about assaulting a special needs child.
Yeah, it depends on. I think it all gonna depend on the parents, and you got a family that now. Granted, if your kid is that close to the action, there's a chance that they are doing okay, that they have a little bit of money, so they may not be in as much of a need where they're willing to sign off on NDAs and say, all right, let's get this out of here and make sure it never happened. But for the most part, the chance is they're gonna be like, what's the number?
Right.
Yeah, it never happened. Matter of fact, cut. That's not even his hand. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
in the picture. Yeah. So,
Like, whatever number you was thinking, just put another zero on it and then sign a check.
right. Throw another 0 or 2 at the end, and we'll make it go away. Matter of fact, I'll cut his hand off. You can keep it as a souvenir. Like, right. It's just
And I didn't even realize that. I didn't even realize, and I forgot that he plays for Man United now. So
right. That's a big
yeah,
one. Pause.
yeah. That's the type of situation the whole country's gonna be looking at. Like, yo, y'all, listen, I
Yeah.
know your kid got hit, but y'all better do the right thing and shut your ass up. We need to win. That's what's gonna happen. I'm telling you, like they are serious over there. They're like, yeah, let the little bugger get paid for, but he's got games to play. Okay, like,
Man
I'm telling you,
United.
soccer over there is
I'm
vicious,
a,
man.
I'm an Arsenal guy.
Well, Man U is your company.
No, we don't work with them anymore.
Not anymore. Oh, okay.
No.
Um,
I don't even know those. I mean, I don't watch soccer. That was just the only two teams I know.
gotcha. I don't watch soccer either, but actually, I like Ronaldo though. Ronaldo's, probably
He's a
my favorite
beast.
player.
He's a
Yeah.
beast.
My favorite player. What else? Anything before we move on to anything bingeable-ish or anything going on in the political sphere, Vari? Besides, I know we talked about Ketanji, but anything else?
Man, they Ukraine still happening. They the situation over there, it seems to be getting, it's tough to say better, because like
No.
there are things that are getting better, but then there are other things that are like worse, so like the Russians bombed a train station that people were using like as shelter and as a way to flee the country.
Damn.
And the 50 people have been killed, including 5 children. The Russians claim that the Ukrainians bombed it just to blame them.
Sounds like Trump.
Yeah, and then there's been a bunch of stuff. The International Criminal Court has opened up a war crimes investigation on the Russians. Those things usually don't go anywhere, so I doubt anything's going to happen, but it's happening. The UN voted to remove the Russians from the Human Rights Council of the UN. They were saying it makes no sense for them to be there when they're violating human rights, which I totally agree. But I mean, China's still on the Human Rights Council as well, so hey, and then here at home, obviously, we talked about it already. Ketanji Brown Jackson got confirmed to the Supreme Court. For right now, the White House announced that she's going to stay in her current role as a federal judge on the DC circuit, but she'll just continue to recuse from all cases, because any case that she works on could potentially be a case that makes its way to the Supreme Court, which will cause her to have to recuse there. So she's not going to take on any further cases, which so she'll basically get like a 3-month break. Good part of that is that for whatever the casework that the Supreme Court has accepted for the next term that begins in October, unlike most justices, she'll have a lot of time to kind of get read up on those cases and be ready to go, instead of having a shorter time period from
What beach will she be reading on, do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I mean,
I would be
she ain't going to work,
right?
and she still gets paid. She's a federal judge, so she's still getting paid. But she won't be taking any cases. And this has happened before in history, in case people were wondering. It's happened 5 times in history. The most recent was back in the 1960s, but that overlap from having a new justice confirmed and then just waiting for the old justice to leave office was only 14 days. So hers is going to be the new record now, because it's going to be almost 3 months before she actually assumes office. We also had Biden pause student loan debt again, going through extend the pause of student loan repayment, going out to, I believe the date is August 31st now. They're doing. I've seen some folks suggest that this could be strategic. To maybe they'll extend it out to August and then forgive it like in August, September, and use it as
Before
a campaign
primary.
as a campaign thing for November. I doubt that. I mean, there's an old political saying, like, I'm not a part of an organized party, I'm a Democrat. So so I can't see Dems being that strategic,
I just don't think Biden knows that pause doesn't mean excuse. Like, somebody should probably hand him the dictionary.
But AOC also put out a statement this week. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, congresswoman from New York, Brooklyn area, basically thanking Biden for extending the pause, but then also giving him the business at the same time, saying like how keep coming up to these deadlines and then extending, like the kind of pain and trauma that it can cause to people who don't know how they're going to get these payments going and stuff like that. And it's just another reason why they need to do student loan debt forgiveness. So there, people aren't letting this go. The usual suspects, the AOCs, the Pramila Jayapals, Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, etc. They're still on that. And then also just as a point of personal privilege, um, Miami Palmetto Senior High School, which is the high school that Ketanji Brown Jackson went to, they had a big pep rally, with the school, like celebrating the confirmation on Friday. I saw a video of it. It was pretty cool for the kids to know they go to a school that a Supreme Court justice went to. And then
Yep.
also, coincidentally, Nikki Fried, who was a candidate, she's the current agriculture secretary or commissioner here in the state of Florida, who's also running for governor. She also went to that high school. So if things go the way that I hope they go this November, we could have one high school that produced a Supreme Court justice and a governor in the same year. So, watch this space.
In the 305, right?
Yeah.
That's real selfish of you.
That's how we do.
DeSantis was at
Trick Daddy, stand up.
DeSantis was at the UFC fight last night, and Floridians gave him a standing ovation.
Yeah, you know that. See, but if things play out in November the way you want them to, they may not play out in 2020. What is that? Four? The way you want them to. DeSantis may not be here, but he might be somewhere else. Hopefully not though. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Ketanji Brown Jackson, man. It was a long road for her. Just that last 2-3 weeks or whatever. She was, she dealt with what we expected. I think we fully expected it, and I think it was even worse than we expected initially.
Mm-hmm.
And but she got through it, and we saw the celebrations. We saw her celebration with Biden. Like, seeing all those candid moments is good. It's good to see that stuff. And I'm glad that they're highlighting it to tell people that, just because you're here, there's more options from being a rapper or a basketball player, or football player, or, you can go be a judge, or potentially a governor, if things go well, at least a governor candidate.
Right.
So,
and EJ talks about this a lot, and I think it's important to highlight, especially with her. She was on a debate team in high school, and the debate coach, a white man, took her on a trip to Harvard, and she went there and thought, like, I could go here. You know what I mean? And so it's important for Black people to see that, like, to Steve's point, you don't gotta have a jump shot or be able to, do bars to succeed, to make it to the next level. You know what I mean? And it's not all about that. Your brain can carry you to, the places that you want to go. Yeah, the road is hard, just because of the color of our skin. I'm not trying to, breeze over that like it ain't a thing. You know what I mean? But the shit can be done. You know what I mean? And you got to just, focus and put in the work and get there.
Indeed. I want to say shout out to Dwayne Haskins, 24-year-old football player, lost his life yesterday in Miami. He was hit by a car. He was down there. They said he was training with some other quarterbacks from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we always talk about people trying to be the first to break that news, to be like, breaking news, guess what happened? And it's starting to backfire on these people. Like we saw when Kobe Bryant passed away, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. Like that hit. His wife said TMZ posted it before she even got the phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday we saw the post from Adam Schefter, which was posted, and I think it was going to come anyway. And this is a little bit different because it wasn't like he was the first to post. Actually, I think he was the first to post, but I don't think people were too concerned with that. It was more the distaste that he left in people's mouth, because he highlighted the fact that he was a struggling athlete. Like, he was good in college, but he basically said, hey, this guy was good in college. He's been a piece of shit in the league. He's getting another chance with the Steelers, and he passed away this morning. Like, that's the gist of what he was saying. So he's getting a lot of flack and backlash for that. Schefter, that is. And I think rightfully so. I think, these guys are Des Bryant put out a tweet. He tweeted this morning and said, for those of you that don't understand, this is how they see us. This is how they see black athletes. Like we're just the talent. Like this is the talent. They don't care about the name associated with it. They don't care about the family life that's associated with it. This is the talent that you had. This is the talent that you have. What have you done for me lately? And oh, by the way, they passed away. And
I definitely hear you. And let me just say something real quick before I address the Adam Schefter thing. He didn't pass away in Miami. Don't try to hold us down. We're having a good week. It was in Fort Lauderdale. So people said South Florida and everybody assumed Miami, but it happened in Fort Lauderdale. So
it's all the same. Tomato.
But on my Cory Booker shit, like nobody's gonna steal my joy,
Right.
But
the neighboring city of Miami.
But nah, it kind of had those vibes of like you said, Kobe, where it's like, oh, we got to get it out first, and with it getting out first, they had Rick Scott dying, or not Rick Scott. I can't even think of his damn name now. But you know what I'm talking about?
No,
curly hair dude. He's played for the Lakers. They said he died in the crash too, and then it ended up he put out
Rick
a tweet
Fox.
like
Rick
Fox. There you go. And so it's just like, oh, we got to get it first, and it don't matter if it's wrong. We'll figure it out later as long as we're first. And you put out this tweet basically talking shit about the man. Right at moments after he's died. And I thought that was kind of fucked up. While nothing in his tweet was inaccurate. The shit was just distasteful. Right. It's kind of like when I forget who it was brought up the rape allegation against Kobe. And it's like, okay, if you're a person who follows Adam Schefter for NFL updates, you watch football, what Haskins' career. It
was Gail King.
Gail King. Yeah, but if you follow Adam Schefter, you know what Haskins' career has been. Like you didn't need that context on the day that he died to know that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it was just unnecessary, man.
I'm trying to look back to the other instances Scheffner has had been attacked for tweeting something, because this isn't the first time that he's done something, and I can't remember what it was that happened before. But yeah, I mean, he just I don't know, because it was something that he's done before in the past that I remember we talked about, and I remember killing him for it, but I can't remember what it was. But I think you guys are spot on, and I never really Scheffner and guys like that. I could care less about. I know they become the authority. I mean, you guys know my issue with sports media and how 80% of these jokers have never picked up a jump rope and are now the authority on this stuff. So he needed to be checked, but I wish I can go back to what it was he did in the past. I can't find it, but I would say, I being that I can't find it, I can't speak to what I believe his character is, but I just remember killing him for something like that before. But the thing here, most importantly, Dwayne Haskins is from this area, Maryland guy. I played with a lot of guys that are younger than me that played with him, and they're really hurt. And it's sad, man. Young brother lost his life. We were hoping that he would get another shot, football wise, but from everything that I'm seeing personally about this guy, he was a good guy and certainly didn't, deserve to lose his life so young. We don't know all of the circumstances, but it's just tragic, man. And
yeah,
our prayers go to his family, man, for real.
Indeed. Someone else had passed away, but these guys, yeah, I mean, Schefter getting killed, Ian Rappaport got killed last year, this past football season, because he posted some weird shit, and then he had a little meltdown on sports talk radio saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna post anything anymore because people are taking it this way." Like, but these guys gotta calm down. Like, we get it, but you guys already have made a name. So being the first, if you're talking about a trade or something like that, that might be okay. But when you're talking about, somebody passing away, like, there's so many people attached to these athletes' lives, besides just their spouses or their parents, like that could potentially start to get those phone calls, those texts to see and get, be in group chats and something get dropped in there, that you can just completely derail. Let alone you think about they could potentially have kids, who could see this shit. So they just got to do better, man. They got to be a little more responsible with their platforms, and hopefully this will humble up at least Shefty. Like we like that he reports stuff, but there's certain things you gotta do better, man. You can't be desensitized to this level.
Right. And maybe you would think that because I mean, even though like people like ESPN try to front like their media, and they're not like me, like like you should be hanging out with the people you cover, you know, as a journalist, you know what I mean? And so maybe they need to work out something where like the policy is like, okay, when we get this kind of thing first, we'll reach out to the team real quick and be like, yo, we got to report that Dwayne Haskins passed away. We got it from a pretty good source, so we think it's true. Do you know if the family's been notified? Because we want to report this, And then maybe the team says, yo, we're just hearing this. Like, oh, can you give us half an hour? Let us, you know what I mean? Or something, instead of just putting it out there in the media. And to Steve's point, now you're getting blown up. The family is getting blown up with texts and phone calls. Like, oh my God, I'm so, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, it has to be a better way.
Problem with that is that we've allowed this we've allowed Adam Schefter to become his own thing, entity, and enterprise. Like he's getting like what 10 mil or something a year to do this type stuff.
Probably a lot.
Yeah, and I mean it's unfortunately this is the nature of the business, and he's just got to have more discerning taste. And Des Bryant is 100% right, because again I can't remember what Schefter did in the past, but Des Bryant is 100% right. This is what they look at these dudes as, what they do. And this is Schefter. You could have easily just said what it was, tragic loss. You could have shown some compassion.
Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins passed away in a car accident. Boom.
It's tragic. Whatever.
There's a tweet.
That's it. This dude, you went out of your way to say struggling QB. So
yeah,
you're a piece of shit in a large way for that. You're a piece of shit.
And it kind of like harkens back to I don't know if it was after Trayvon or after Mike Brown, when it was that whole thing like if I die, and people were posting like pictures of themselves like in their military uniform, or like feeding homeless people or whatever, to try to kind of buttress those, like, oh, this guy died, and yeah, it was tragic, the cops killed him, but he smoked weed 10 years ago.
Right.
It's like
he was actually buying a blunt. Okay, and
so,
especially now when you're talking about legalizing in so many places, like just stupid. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck are engaged. How long will that last? What's the over under on that?
There's a saying, those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it.
Right.
So I think Ben better read a fucking book.
Yo, Thanos,
but Jenny's an OG now. I think she's ready.
Yo, I go back to what I always say about Halle Berry. If you that fine and you that rich and you can't keep a dude, this bitch is crazy. Yo. Like,
it's you. It's you.
It's you.
Listen, we know something if J-Lo turns out bald at the next show.
Oh, like I can't, like come on, though. You that rich, you that fine, and you can't keep a dude. Like that's, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's them. What you guys been watching?
Take it to the red table.
Upload, yo. I finally caught up with y'all and watched Upload
2 years later.
Yeah, who brought Upload to this table?
This one.
I mean, y'all don't watch what I tell y'all to watch. So the hell with y'all.
I watch Hightown.
One episode don't count.
I watched both seasons already. I'm done with the whole
Oh,
series, or
good job. Good job.
wherever it is so far.
Yeah, it's only been 2 seasons, but Upload was dope, man. I don't know if the second season ended so abruptly. I don't remember y'all talking about it, but ended with the 7 episodes because of maybe COVID or
Probably.
yeah, just the way it ended was kind of like. But
Yeah,
I thought it was dope though.
they
Yeah,
did good with it. If you have
I like the
Amazon
show.
Prime, go watch it.
I liked it a lot, man. I really like you said in the chat, EJ, the bellhop guy. Like he's one of my favorite characters. He's so
That
funny.
motherfucker's funny, yo. That motherfucker is funny.
And did you
Yo.
see the thing that I was saying when I was like, when Ingrid went to the bellhop and was like, let me talk to the manager, and then he jumped out of himself, like, but he just had a tuxedo on this time.
Yeah. Yo, Ingrid, she is funny as shit. Her character, that whole thing is just it was just done well, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
And I like, it kind of reminds me of like this kind of reminds me of like the things that we've said about like Insecure, like how we all love Kelly so much. Like I really like that dynamic between the friend, I don't know her name, and the army guy who's Nathan's friend.
Yeah.
I like the dynamic between their two characters or whatever, but it's only a 30-minute show, so they can't go too crazy into it. But those two are funny too.
Her real life name is like Zenab something. But yeah, that shit is funny. When he was having the dreams, that shit was so funny. And it's just a dope concept. Like, it's a dope concept for sure.
Yeah.
I watched Power's most recent episode and I'm waiting for Steve to catch up.
Yeah, I'm still behind. Every time I start it, I fall asleep, man. I'm old.
Because you watching The Wire 50 times of fucking watching The Wire, something you've seen 1,000 times.
My TV time is in the evening, man, and I'm old now, so I usually get into about 20 minutes and then TV's watching me.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Anything else you've been watching, EJ?
I don't think so. Other than a couple of things on Amazon, like they had this this movie basically on Fat Tuesday, which was something Guy Tori did for comedians back in the day. So I think I talked about that last week. I don't think it's been anything new other than my normal like shows that I watch every day. The Chicago stuff and all of that. Nothing new.
Larry?
For me, man, I've been watching my normal stuff, Billions. Billions, Outlander. I've been watching Survivor. Love that show. And then I checked out this new joint on Amazon. It's an Amazon Prime show called The Outlaws. The first season only has 6 episodes. It's 6 1-hour episodes. It's not the best show I've ever watched. Like if it had Christopher Walken in it, and so I was like, let me check it out.
Oh, I started that. Yeah. But
and
it's
so
British.
Yeah, it's British, and it's okay. Like it was good enough to keep me watching. And then it only has 6 episodes. They end it like they might have a second season, but I don't know. I actually started watching it last week. I had watched the first episode on Saturday before we potted, and I forgot to mention it, but now I've finished it. The thing that is super funny about it is that like two of the characters are like supposed to be like gangsters, and it's so weird like seeing British people be gangsters. You know what I mean? Like the dude was like, "Hey, bruv, you got to put in some proper work." And I'm like,
yeah, you watch Top Boy, you get that a lot, yo.
Yeah, I can't watch it.
You got to put in some proper work, son.
And when you're watching it, and they see a gun, it's like 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 when they see a gun in the UK, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. That thing had me rolling. But anyway, like the show itself is one of those shows where it's we've seen the show before. Like a group of people are doing a thing and then they kind of bond like while they're doing it, and then you learn the backstory of each of the characters for like why they're there, kind of thing, And But yeah, but it's a good show. Like I said, like if it didn't have Christopher Walken, I probably would never even clicked on it. I was like, let me give it a shot. You know, it got him in it. So and some of the characters I've actually seen in other stuff as well. But overall, I thought it was a good show. And then yeah, that's about it for me. Oh, and also, what's the name? Got a new show coming out on Showtime. I want to check out. Chiadale. What's how you said Chiadale or Deja Four or something like that. The guy from 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
He has a new Showtime show coming out. Like I know he's supposed to be like some kind of alien that comes to Earth or whatever. I'm not really sure what the full concept is yet based on the previews, but I remember liking the preview. So it's supposed to start this month, so I'm probably gonna check that out on Showtime.
Yeah, summertime it's hard because summer and spring you want to be outside, so you don't really get time to watch a lot of shit.
Mhm.
I gotta catch up on Power. But on May 4th, The Circle returns. EJ,
Hmm.
that's a must watch.
He said the EJ like I don't watch this shit.
Yeah, but you don't get excited about it. You'd be like, oh guys, I watched The Circle too. Like there's no projection. But yeah, May 4th, I'm looking forward to that. To see how that goes. I want to be on that show. Like I want to go on it. I'm about to send a submission and I did start watching that Outlaws thing that you were talking about. Vari only got through one episode.
Mhm.
Seems to be what I usually can do is get through one and then I'm asleep. And that's really it, man. It's been a slow TV week for me.
Ain't much been hitting.
Yeah, it's outside time. A lot of shows go on hold. Any movies coming? EJ, you used to be on top of that. Like,
Yeah, Doctor Strange is on the horizon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think you guys are Harry Potter fans, but
oh,
the
My wife is.
the Fantastic Beasts, Secrets of Dumbledore comes out this
Mhm.
week. This Thursday is the early showing.
it's a
Friday is
movie or
the
is it in like?
It's a
yeah.
movie.
It's a movie
A
series.
Harry
It's
Potter
basically the
series.
prequel. Basically the prequel to Harry Potter. So the Fantastic Beasts series. It's been two of them so far. It's
Mhm.
basically the events prior to Harry Potter, like 30, well, maybe I don't know, maybe 100 years. No, probably
Nah, it's
like
probably I think it's like 40, 50 years before.
yeah,
Something
because
like that.
it's set place in like the 20s.
Yeah, like in New
So
York.
yeah, the 20s, and then it's going back to Dumbledore when he was young.
Mhm.
But yeah, uh, that comes out this week, and then the next thing is Doctor Strange. Oh, I did start something new. I forgot. Disney Plus has Moon Knight, which
I've
is
been hearing good stuff about that.
no, which is a it's a Marvel
You can't
comic.
take you. It's Marvel. You can't listen to you.
I'm a fan of Marvel and DC. I'm not like you guys. I'm a comic fan, but I just don't think, and I don't think they should have rolled out Moon Knight this way, and they changed a lot of what it's supposed to be, and I don't really like the angle. The first two episodes is super slow, and kind of corny, and surprisingly, a lot of people I know have kind of said the same thing. And the bad part about it is like you've wasted two episodes, kind of. And with the Disney Plus series, they don't ever really have more than like 6 or 7. So I don't know how good it's gonna be. And then Moon Knight, depending on how well you know him, like I know some people that really loved Moon Knight comics in the '80s that are kind of upset because it's not what they're used to. But most people don't know what the hell Moon Knight is, so I don't
I
really
never
know.
heard of it.
Yeah, I don't really. I know what they're trying to do in the larger scheme. Like I told y'all before, they're trying to go more to the dark universe where it's about magic and vampires and all of that kind of stuff. But if you don't know that, you're not seeing the long game right now. So I don't really know what they're doing with it, but I don't think y'all gonna like it.
I mean, it feels like Marvel is basically at this point like, yo, this shit is like a casino. It's a cash machine, like So remember in Iron Man 3, that one picture on page 3 that had the janitor in the background? He's on Disney Plus now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
giving him a series. You know?
They,
I,
yeah,
it's Disney, but I think also I think they're trying to find what sticks. Who's going to be the next big star, right?
Mhm.
Because they just happen to get so many at one time. Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr., Chris Pratt was
Chris
hit a,
Evans,
Chris Evans hit it big. Pratt too, right? Wasn't he
mhm.
Guardians of the
Guardians of the
Galaxy.
Galaxy.
yeah,
Mhm.
so all those guys hit it big, and now they're all probably at a time where they're like, yeah, we're kind of moving on, they're aging out. So they got to find, they got the Spider-Man kid, what's his name?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, but he's starting to get new roles too. So he's going to probably want to move on. He's getting a little bulky and older, and he's getting facial hair and shit. He's getting too old to be Spider-Man. So they got to find what's going to stick. And once they find that next star, then I think they'll probably start to build around that person and go into that.
You know what, though, Steve? I think it's probably just because of the level that we're at and what we do. Because this should never, like, I saw a story, or not a story, it was a thread, and it talked about like how much money RDJ, Robert Downey Jr. made from Marvel over the 10 years it took them to tell that Avengers saga story, right? And it was something like 370 something $1 million because of um after he made the first one and it blew up, he started negotiating in the initial payment to like be in a film plus back end shit where he was also getting part of the box office. You know what I mean? So that's how he ends up making 370 something $1 million just from playing Iron Man, right? And so in my mind, I'm thinking like when they be like, yeah, I think I'm ready to do something else and step away. I'm thinking like, why? Like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like I'll do this shit forever. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Well,
And
Tony
you're
Soprano.
kind of right. Both of y'all are kind of right in this aspect. Like both him. Well, Downey hasn't really said it as much as Chris Evans has. Chris Evans already was struggling to be taken serious. Like we forget Robert Downey Jr. had a long career
Mhm.
prior to these joints, and he has the history. Chris Evans, on the other hand, he hasn't really had a lot of time to be casted in other serious roles. So him being Captain America forever could be really detrimental to his career. So I know that's why he was very open about saying how he felt about it versus a Liam Hemsworth. That Liam Hemsworth, he just gets roles and he'll take anything, and he doesn't take himself as serious as an actor. So he has no problem saying I'm gonna be Thor forever,
Chris
But
Hemsworth.
Let me actually, yeah, that's
Liam,
Thor.
yeah, Chris Hemsworth, yeah, Liam is the little brother, yeah.
Liam is his little brother. But let me ask you
Mm.
this though, EJ, and Steve maybe know the answer to this question too. Regardless of Chris Evans being taken serious or not, when he plays Captain America, does Disney's check clear?
I'm with you, champ. I'm with you.
Because like
I'm
I don't
with
see
you.
the problem. You know what I
I'm
mean?
with you.
Like I
But
don't like if you
I think
paying me
also
$20
there
million
was
a movie, I don't ever got to be taken serious. I'll be in these
no.
cartoons forever.
I think something was mentioned at one point about his I think he had like a minor back injury or something, and he started that kind of helped start him thinking about life after Captain America if he can't do the stunts and shit. Like, uh,
Did they stop? They don't have stunt doubles anymore?
Yeah,
listen,
he definitely does. But they also, and
I don't see the problem.
the other factor in this too, though, Marvel and Kevin Feige, who runs Marvel, basically,
Hmm.
he's already had that plan that whole element was going to be done. And I think if anybody, Vari, should really listen to your point, it should be him because you're straying away from the bread and butter that got you here to now try to tell these offshoot stories for what? Like we should have been had another Black Panther. I feel like they totally dropped the ball in that regard before Chadwick Boseman. And then now you're trying to bring Blade back full circle, which I've said before. Blade and Wesley Snipes is the reason for Marvel Studios' current success because when they were floundering and he put all that money into the Blade project, it was really the first time that we could see a comic movie become successful, and it gave Marvel the platform to buy into it and start to get their stuff back. So I get you're trying to come full circle and pay homage to this character, but now you putting that off 4 or 5 years with a guy who's now 52 or 50 years old, Mahershala Ali. It's like, if anybody needs to hear what you're saying, I think it's Feige, because it's like he strikes me as one of those people that are so smart. They're
He's the
trying to
smartest guy in the
outthink
room.
everybody, every in the room, and they're just doing, keep it simple. They're doing most off-brand shit ever. Like this Moon Knight series, we could have had anything else that people know about or care about. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like I've said before, I think they're just thinking they can't be touched and they can't fail.
I would disagree with you a little bit on the Black Panther. Like, we should have already had a Black Panther, and only for this reason, right? Is that I think they did Black Panther the same way that you're talking about, where it's like, we're gonna do this offshoot thing while we're working on the main thing, which was the Avengers, etc. Right? And then Black Panther has the success that it has, and because of what it meant culturally, they had to come correct the next time. And so I think they couldn't just say, let's get another one out there. It had to be like, yo, we got to make this shit right, because we got a whole segment of people that are like tied into this one character in a way that they're not tied into the rest of the Marvel universe. You know what you see
I
what I'm
think the
saying?
only reason I disagree with you is because the two instances that are glaring that I will point out, that first Iron Man, the level of success it had, they never anticipated it, and that's why they shot the next one out within 2 years. Same
Right.
thing with
But the
Guardians of the
difference is
Galaxy.
that you didn't have a group of people saying, man, I finally see myself on the screen. Oh, the
No,
natural
I,
hair,
I
the
get that.
colors.
I
You
get
know, you didn't
that,
have
but
people dressing in fucking kente
I get
to go
that,
to the
but
movie theater to see
I
Iron
get that,
Man.
I get that, but Coogler was ready. Coogler was already ready. That's the thing. Like he was gonna do it right. He was already ready. You know what I mean? It don't take you 5 years to do a film. You know what I mean? It don't take him. It didn't take him 5 years to put together the first one.
Well, it was supposed to come
It's
back in 20, and then we did have a pandemic,
well, that wasn't why it
and then the
didn't.
star died.
That wasn't, they Marvel had no plans on really bringing it back that fast. They had no plans. It was always anticipated that it would fall in line with what they're trying to do, and that's the thing that I'm trying to say.
Gotcha. Okay,
Feige
I
is
got you.
is prolonging this stuff to try to fit this. He's trying to have this whole thing happen to have this full circle moment to be like, aha, but not realizing 80% of the people that love this stuff don't give a shit about that aha moment. They don't.
Yeah.
They just want to see it and be. Steve says that shit all the time. I just want to see the shit, make it fun. They don't care about the aha moment.
House of the Dragon is starting August 21st.
Mm,
That is the prequel to Game of Thrones, 300 years
yeah.
prior to what we know of Game of Thrones, the
Mhm.
Targaryen War. I
Yeah.
look forward to that. They got George R.R. Martin's name plastered on it, so I have to assume
Yeah, I
that.
mean, he wrote the book, but still, shit. Like, I don't know, man. It just left a bad taste, man. Like, wait.
Once you suck one dick, huh?
Oh my goodness. It's like, man, I don't know, man. Like, I like like, it used to just be the shit, yo. Like, you know, everybody's like, yo, you watch last night? Oh my god, oh my goodness, your red wedding and the purple wedding and all these classic moments and episodes. You like, we're just talking about Black Panther. You know what I mean? There aren't many TV or movies that have international acclaim. You know what I mean? Like, you can go on YouTube and watch parties of people in Ireland and Russia, wherever, watching this shit. You know what I mean? And they just wasted it, yo. They just threw all that shit in the trash so that Dave and Dave, D&D, or Dan and Dave, not Dave, Dan and Dave, the two guys who were the showrunners, could go off and do this other show they were trying to do for like Netflix or some shit that never even got produced. It was a big fucking letdown. I was pissed. I was pissed.
Tell us how you really feel.
I was pissed. And so, I'm gonna watch the new one, right? but I don't know if I'm gonna be amazed. I don't know if I'm gonna go in thinking like, oh, this shit is so because I know how it ends. Even though this is a prequel, I know where it's leading us. You know what I mean? And
Timestamp it. That doesn't mean it can't be good though.
Yeah, man, but it's tough, man. It's tough.
I'm watching.
I'm gonna watch.
I'm gonna watch. The first night, I'm probably going to.
Not gonna get my hopes up, I guess.
Eat some squirrel. Some old. We're talking 300 years ago. There wasn't much to eat.
Pint of ale.
Ready to go. Probably won't wash for a week or so before. I look at the cast. There's more black people in this one than there was in Game of Thrones, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, these characters that they're playing aren't black people in the books. It's just that now they're just making it that way. Not like, are they a good actor? Okay, let's keep moving. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Because, like I said, man, most people that are going to pick this up haven't read the books. You know what I mean?
I agree with you, Steve. But George R.R. Martin is having the same issue that EJ just described about Kevin Feige with Marvel, where he's doing too much, and now, because I saw a thing about not only this prequel series that's coming out, he's in the works with HBO on a Dunk and Egg series. Dunk and Egg is another Targaryen story that takes place about like 70 years before the events of the main story. Nice. They're talking about doing a story of this offshoot character that's in old Valyria and things like that. And what it seems like HBO is maybe trying to create like some kind of Game of Thrones universe, like a cinematic universe kind of, and they have like 5 different Game of Thrones shows in the pipeline, animated series and all. And I think they may be saying, let's see how this House of the Dragon does. And if this shit does well, we're going to green light the rest, And a lot of people cared about the main story and not really all this other shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it'll carry a name. LeBron James is not going to make the playoffs.
Ooh.
Stephen A. Smith put out he made mention. He said the GOAT comparisons and conversations are done.
Completely done. I said this to y'all days ago in the chat. And it's completely done. I mean, forget Michael Jordan. And like Allen Iverson said, there's only one other person that could be compared to Michael Jordan. That's Kobe Bean Bryant. This dude Kobe was out there on one leg. This motherfucker took free throws with a torn Achilles, iced on the shoulder, everything, on a 17-win team. LeBron, you got 2 extra playoff spots to make it, and you sitting out on the sideline, decked out, making active players move out your way. I mean, this is another example of LeBron as GM failing, and we always commend him for getting the power back to the players, getting the bag for these guys, and especially the things he's done off the court. But he can't be protected to the stain on his legacy, because it's a stain. It's a stain. Jordan never missed the playoffs. Never in his prime. And it's
nice caveat.
Yeah, I mean, being on the Wizards. Being on the Wizards at 40 something, we really gonna hold him to that?
What about being on the Bulls at 20 something?
When was he on the Bulls and he missed the playoffs?
His injured season. His first year.
I mean, come on now. Listen, this is nasty work, and I don't know. You got to be, as a Laker fan, you've got to be livid. You've got
Jordan,
to be livid.
You could say one thing. You say Jordan never missed the playoffs with other star players on his team.
Yeah, I mean, I hear everything you guys saying, and I don't disagree with it, man. And I'm not gonna say it because I know Steve's waiting, But I'll piggyback on EJ's point and say that LeBron as GM it doesn't work. Player as GM does not work.
Oh boy, I know what he was gonna say.
And this is just
now.
proving it. I'm not gonna say it, but it's just proving it.
Yeah. Yeah, the Don Juan and Don. All right. Yeah, so the Lakers are gonna miss the playoffs. Remember and here's the thing, right? And maybe LeBron needs to go back to his early days and just get off social media, stop trying to be that guy. Because he did the same thing in preseason. He's like, oh, keep that same energy, talking about the age of my team and blah blah blah. And well, here you go. Right now, you missed the playoffs. Not only did you miss the playoffs, you had a chance to make the playoffs, and you sat out because you had a twisted ankle. I didn't see dudes play a rough, or what people call a pickup, or 21, whatever you want to call it in your hood, on twisted ankles. Not for millions of dollars. Not only that, AD came back from injury, so now you would have been at full force. And I think they only had to win 3 of the last 5. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was 3 of the last 5 to get that last spot.
And it's a 10 spot. You got 2 of the best players in the game, and you in the same position as the Knicks.
Yeah, he should. I mean, they should have definitely. He should have at least made an attempt. But I mean, and then even if you forget about that lead up, it makes what people said all season, that LeBron was just out for personal accolades this year. It almost makes it seem like it was true. People are like, oh, look, yeah, he's doing, but look at him. He's scoring 30, 36 that night. And he went for, 36, 10, and 6, and sure, that's great and all. If that's where you're at right now, don't drag other people down. Russ is trying to get a ring. There's other people that are depending on you as a superstar that could draw other superstars and build these teams to win. And don't get me wrong, Russ had a bad year. He is heavily at blame here for the shit show of the Lakers and that other guy that they have that's supposed to play, but he's always hurt.
Mr. Glass.
Yeah, Mr. Glass. Paper mache. So there's more to blame than LeBron, but I mean, the conversation is done, man. The GOAT conversation is done.
Also part of the problem too is that the way that roster, the way that the roster is structured completely, right? Because you got LeBron, max salary, AD max salary. I don't know if they inherited Russ's old contract or they gave him a new one when he came over, but I'm pretty sure he's either at a max or close to a max. And when you're doing that with 3 guys, where are you signing other players? And when you think about the fact of when you had Wade, Bosh, and LeBron on the Heat, only Bosh had a max deal. Wade and LeBron had less money, and that allowed them to sign the role players to help out. Because AD, Russ, and Bron, they should get you 60 points, right? But you need another guy who's going to get you, 12 and 10. This guy might get you, 18 and 8, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how you're going to score 95, 96 points a night and win these games, and that roster is not constituted that way,
They should get you 80 points.
I mean, they should, but I'm just saying, they don't have to, because they're going to draw so much attention. You're kicking it out to the corner for somebody to shoot a 3 because you drew the double team or whatever, and then that's how you get these other guys who are able to do numbers. And it's like, oh shit, I don't even know who the fuck's else on the team, but Mario Chalmers put up 22 tonight, or whoever their version of Mario Chalmers is, you know what I mean? And that's how you get that, but the way that team is constituted, it doesn't work that way. It's like we've given 75% of our salary cap to 3 players, and then now we got these other guys who should be like in the G League who are starting. and then they can't do anything. They can't score, and you're losing to like teams you shouldn't lose to.
Right. Yeah. Well, Baseball season's in full effect.
Marlins
I'm
killing
I'm
it.
I'm looking forward to the NBA playoffs. This is a great time of year. NFL draft, baseball, football. I love when we have those three major sports. At least to me, they're the major sports. Crossing paths in some way. It just makes for good TV, good Sports Center. Sports Center still finds ways to drag out other bullshit, but um, look forward to it, man. Yankees are Yankeeing. Beat up on Boston. Opening day got pushed out because of weather, but Yankees gonna be Yankees, man.
Yeah. My Marlins are doing their thing too, sitting at 500. You gotta love to see it.
500. What are they? 1-1.
They're 1-1.
Oh snap! Nasty.
Actually, the
Hey,
Marlins have a pretty good lineup. Quietly, they have a pretty damn good lineup.
yeah, we always do. The Marlins are the farm system for the rest of the league.
Oh,
We
right. Okay.
we 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 find the talent, we get them good, and then we get them to send them somewhere else so they can help the other teams win.
Yeah. There's some teams out there that got some sleeper
Yeah.
squads, and I think the Marlins are one of them. I don't know if you guys have enough to win, but
Hey, before we get too far away from it, Steve, that show that I talked about with Chiadale Ejiofor is called "The Man Who Fell to Earth." This TV series going to be on Showtime, premiering on April 24th.
I think I did see.
I didn't see that. I
think I
gotta
saw the
look that up. Look that up. I need to see what the reviews on Morbius were not good. I need to see that eventually.
I haven't seen a single good one.
Yeah, that's sad.
I
Marvel
haven't seen
Sony collaboration.
Yeah. And a lot and stuff that I've seen is people saying they were disappointed because they were saying the preview like promised things that the movie didn't deliver. Like they made it seem like it was going to be connected to Spider-Man, and it's not. And then they made it seem like it was going to be connected to Venom, and it wasn't. And so I haven't heard anything good about it.
How they dropped the ball on that is beyond me, but that's crazy.
Egos.
Because they probably did a Spider-Man thing, and even though they own Spider-Man, Disney called and was like, "Hey, why you want to fuck up a good thing?"
Yeah, we're Disney.
Yeah, I mean Morbius's whole existence is around Spider-Man, so I don't even know how they get that off. That's just nasty. It's nasty
Yep.
work.
Oh, all right. Well, what else? Anything before we
no
before we
NFL
move
talk.
on?
Tiger was at the Masters this weekend. I don't know how he did.
Shot of 71.
Tiger was at the Masters. He did steal the show on day one. I think he ended. Actually, he's even right now, but even is not good enough at the Masters. So I think he's tied for either 24th or 64th. Let me confirm to be sure.
I'm pulling it up now. Tiger is
actually he's plus 1 through 5 today, so he's actually plus 8 on the. So he's tied for 45th.
Yeah, he's way down there. Yeah,
but he might not.
I'm showing tied for 42nd, but still way down there.
Yeah, he so he's through 5. He's gonna have to have a good rest of the day, or he might miss the cut after today. Well, today's Sunday.
Today's the last day.
Yeah, so he's done. He's gonna have an amazing day because the dude that's in second right now is 6 under.
The dude who's in first is an American. He's at 9 under.
Yeah, so
a guy named Scotty Scheffler.
But it would still be good to see Tiger make a quick run, and if he can get into that top 20, top 15 after coming off of that car accident, he's on his way, man.
Yeah, it's always good to see him, man. And as far as NFL, EJ ain't not really popping on NFL this week. Seeing some free agent signings here and there, but pre-production, me and Steve, or let me not take credit. Steve saw a rumor about Odell, but it turned out not to be true. But so just kind of watching these last players that are out there, seeing where they might go, and that's
they waiting. GMs are being very gun shy right now, waiting to see what happens with the draft, because teams are trying to trade in and out of top 10 positioning. I think Seahawks are just done with the Jets. So I think they feel like they got fleeced for Jamal Adams. So I think they're pretty mad and don't want to give up DK Metcalf. That's cool. And we're going to see what the Titans might do with AJ Brown. But I think right now, teams are just waiting before they pull the trigger on some of these free agent guys, especially being that they're probably coming at a higher price tag than desired. So it's going to be interesting. The draft is in a couple weeks now, few weeks now, almost.
Like 2 weeks.
16 days away. No, less than that now because we're on the 10th. Yeah, so
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be interesting, man. One person I'm watching, that punter, I'm talking about EJ, Ariza or something like that is his name.
Okay.
He plays for like a small, like a D3 school, something like that. This kid has a fucking cannon of like 80-yard punts like it's nothing. And I don't mean like 80 yards like he kicked it 50 yards and then bounced another 30. Like 80-yard punts like it's nothing. You know what I mean?
He'll probably go second.
People have been saying this kid might go in the second or third round.
Yeah, he'll definitely go third round. So second round, this draft, I'd be surprised. Third round to a team like Green Bay or somebody that don't really need nothing, I could see that happening. But second round, this draft,
Green Bay needs something.
Well, yeah, maybe
they got a quarterback and nothing
third
else.
Round, maybe third round to the Chiefs or one of the teams that ain't really trying to rebuild situation.
But and also part of the talk is that Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, might go to the Rams, and I'm like, you got to be shitting me, yo! Like,
rich get richer.
These guys they bag Bobby Wagner. They might get this. It's like, yo, at what point does the NFL step in and say, yo, this shit got to stop?
Well, they don't have a lot of cap, so he would have to take a major pay cut, or they'd have to restructure somebody because they only have like $6 million in cap, and that ain't.
But the way look at these deals we've been seeing, I can see them signing this dude for 1 year, $20 million, and he has like a $6 million base salary and a $14 million signing bonus.
Yeah.
Boom.
If they do this and that, and I think that's really what's holding them up for me because. Tyrann Mathieu, he's looking at it like I could still get 9, maybe 10, depending on the team. But then it's like, okay, do I want to win? So,
but he's sitting out there. So, but he probably does want a long-term deal. This will probably be his. If it is long-term, it'll probably be his last deal.
Last big contract. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're talking about 5. He probably wants like a 5-year deal, 4 or 5-year deal, with a team where he could be all right, some guaranteed money in case he gets hurt, but
I know where
that 1 year shit. That one,
Steve wants him to be a Cowboy.
Yes, I do.
No.
I don't want him for 4 years though. He's he's aging. I would take him on a 2-year deal if the Cowboys were to do something like that, 2 to 3 years.
He's a good player. I was surprised the Chiefs let him go. Honestly,
he probably wanted a lot of money. Plus, he activated Tom Brady in that Super Bowl. Once you activate the Tom Brady, actionable, whatever they call that, X factor. Yeah.
And the Chiefs just they're building a whole different way, right? They build through offense. They kind of like, we're gonna outscore you. We don't really need this guy. We're gonna outscore you.
Yeah.
True. All right, man. EJ, no, not EJ, not this week. VP, let me hand it over to you to do your best outro and get us out of here.
Hey, we definitely appreciate everybody who stopped by and watched the podcast live today. We definitely appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday morning. For that text message I got you to that fan of the show who was upset that we didn't start on time as the YouTube time alarm thing, whatever the thing's called, was set for. I apologize about that. And as far as who to blame, I'll just say, if you're still watching right now, we don't talk about Bruno. I'll leave it there. But yeah, anyway, yeah, we definitely appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday morning to rock with us. And for those of you who listen to the podcast once it's posted, we appreciate you taking that time as well. You can find this podcast on all podcasting platforms. Just search Castworthy. You can also follow us on any of our social media at Castworthy. On Instagram, it's at Castworthy_podcast. Like we've been saying, man, especially in light of this Dwayne Haskins tragedy, send that text, make that phone call, reach out to somebody, let them know you're thinking about them, they're on your heart, that you missed them, you love them, you just want to check in, see how they doing, etc. Don't be afraid to do that. Definitely do that tomorrow, and promise you never know what's going to happen to any of us. So definitely reach out to your people, let them know you care about them. You probably feel bad about it if you don't, if something were to happen. Yeah, so like I said, we definitely appreciate you guys rocking with us, vibing with us, and we will see you on the next episode. We out. We love you. Peace.